Spurring investment and economic development in the city's urban core is one of the primary reasons the city built the streetcar. So is it working? In this week's Business Courier centerpiece, an in-depth look at the streetcar effect, the impact of the Cincinnati Bell connector on urban development. Over the past 4 months, the Courier examined Hamilton County property records and building permits for the more than 648 properties located directly on the streetcar line. It also interviewed dozens of property owners to find out whether and to what degree the streetcar was a factor in their decision to invest in buildings and land along the line. The work represents the first effort by a Cincinnati news organization to measure the economic impact of the streetcar. The Courier's research confirms what supporters and planners of the project long have said. The streetcar has stimulated development along its path, playing a role in at least $23 million worth. Nearly 60% of streetcar line property owners who developed projects and agreed to rate whether the streetcar influenced them told the Courier the streetcar was a factor in their decision to build. But most also said it was not the sole reason. But that overview is just scratching the surface. Reporters Tom Demaropoulos and Chris Wederick wrote this story and joined Business Courier editor Rob Dahmeyer in the studio to talk more about their findings.
Kelly, thank you very much, and guys, thanks for being here. I hope you had a fantastic Christmas.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
My Christmas was amazing. Anyway, so let's talk about this package. It took a very, very long time. It was really labor-intensive on both of your parts. Why, Chris, did you guys decide that this was worth it?
Well, you know, we kind of came up with the idea because when the streetcar was being proposed and built and debated endlessly, there was questions about, okay, why are we building this? And one of the reasons the city wanted to build it was because it wanted to spur real estate investment along the line, not only along the line, but in the blocks outside of it. So we took a look at, really, we just tried to take a sampling of what is along the line that has been developed in the 4 years up until the streetcar opened. And so, you know, we wanted to really gauge that, to be the first to take a look at to what extent people did their project because of the streetcar, or the streetcar played a factor in it. So, you know, we tried to interview people and ask them, you know, tell us a little bit about the streetcar in terms of your project and how much it played a role in you deciding to go forward. And a lot of people decided to answer that question, which we were pleased by. We interviewed dozens and dozens of people who own property along the line.
How did you guys, Tom, how did you split up the work? I mean, none of this information was just sort of sitting there.
No. So, Rob, what we had done earlier when the streetcar was announced, we wanted to look at who owned property along the route. So we built a database back in 2013 looking at every property along the line and who owned it, to kind of see were people already kind of making those bets and kind of gobbling up property to try to get property along the route. So we took that database and updated it, and then we used city building permits to line up you know, for every property along the line were their building permits filed and was work done on those properties between 2012, when the project was kind of officially given the green light by the voters, and then up to about September of 2016 was our most recent data. So we used that to build this database of who had done what work and where. And then from there we started reaching out to all the property owners along the line.
And during that process, were there any surprises?
Yeah, what we were surprised most by was how willing people were to talk about the streetcar. It's been a political hot potato for a long time, and a lot of people in the business community haven't publicly wanted to say much about it. But what we found was a real willingness to, for people to say yes or no, the streetcar played a role in what I'm doing, or it didn't play a role in it. So people were, you know, now that the project is open, it's not going anywhere. You're not going to see the tracks, you know, ripped out of the street or anything. It's operating every day, so people are much more willing to have a conversation about it and what role it played. And what we found was a majority of those who were doing projects and were willing to answer our question about it they, they said they rated the streetcar as a factor in it. So it was about, it was about a little bit more than a majority of it.
Yeah.
One exception was 3CDC. They didn't want to put a rating on their project. They have said in the past, and they own more properties along the streetcar line than anybody, it's important to note. They said, as they have in the past, that they see the importance of the streetcar to the neighborhood and in developing it, but that they made their decisions independently of it.
Right.
Yet they wouldn't put a rating on
Right.
what kind of factor it
Not surprising.
was. So.
Right. Tom, what specifically, so, okay, I want to be on the streetcar, but line, why? What does it matter?
Yeah, so one of the things that we kept hearing as we were interviewing people is that they wanted to be on the line because it's a fixed investment. It's not going anywhere. It's there, it's in the ground, it's a commitment to redevelopment of the area. And the best kind of analogy that I heard was from a developer. He said, think of it as a highway interstate interchange. When you see Westchester or Liberty Township, when those new changes are put in, that's a commitment by the community to bring development to that area. They want to make sure people can get into that area quickly and out quickly, get their shopping done or whatever they need to do. People looked at the streetcar line the same way. This is a way that if I'm by a streetcar stop, that's basically, it's the equivalent of an interchange.
Yeah, there's a sense of permanence there, I guess.
Absolutely.
Tom, we'll stick with you for the last question. So $160 million, as Kelly said, in investment that you guys saw. First of all, that was just on the line itself, right?
Correct.
But that $160 million doesn't really, that's not the whole picture.
It's not, for a couple of reasons. One, we have developers and people working on projects that we've talked to that are outside of the boundary we looked at, because we did look just at properties that are along the line. You've got properties like the Streetman Biscuit building, which is undergoing a $9 or $10 million renovation.
Right.
That's 2 blocks away from a streetcar stop, but they're not on the route. And then in addition to that, the other thing that we missed in that number is kind of what we consider soft costs. So building permits only show the hard costs, the actual cost of a project. It doesn't include architecture fees or legal fees or engineering fees or even things like furniture and fixtures, painting, all those things that, when a group kind of looks at the economic impact of something, all those numbers are baked in, but that's not baked into that building permit number.
Right. Well, it's a fascinating project. I think it's something, Chris, you mentioned, it has been a political hot potato, but one of the biggest reasons that streetcar defenders defended it was because they said there's going to be some economic development. I think you guys have showed in black and white terms, colorful black and white terms in our paper, that things are happening, and the streetcar's why. So congratulations on a great project, and have a wonderful New Year's Eve tomorrow.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.